Right, let's dive straight into it because a night like this deserves to be talked about properly. Bologna 2, Celtic 2, and when you strip everything back, coming away from Italy with a point feels significant. Not perfect, not flawless, but significant. There was fight, there was grit, and for long spells, there was a level of resilience that we simply have not seen often enough from this Celtic side away from home in Europe. People have thrown the word heroic around, and maybe that sounds a bit strong to some, but when you consider the context of the game, playing with 10 men for such a long period, it starts to make a lot more sense. Before the ball was even kicked, most supporters would have taken a draw if it was offered. Away from home, against a side from one of the major European leagues, this always had the feel of a tough night. Bologna might not be a heavyweight name, but they are well organized, technically sound, and they have players who can hurt you if you give them space. Celtic, for all their struggles on the road in Europe over the years, went into this knowing that discipline and attitude would be just as important as quality. In that sense, the team delivered on the basics, and that is why this result feels different to so many others we have seen. The start of the game could hardly have gone any better. Celtic came out with intent, pressing high and asking questions early, and that pressure paid off almost immediately. A mistake at the back was forced, the goalkeeper panicked, and suddenly Celtic were ahead. It was not a goal carved open with intricate passing, but it was a goal earned through work rate and belief. Those are the types of moments you need away from home in Europe because you're not always going to dominate possession or territory. Taking advantage when the chance appears is absolutely vital. What was encouraging in those opening minutes was how direct Celtic looked. There was none of the sterile possession that frustrates supporters, none of the slow build-up that allows the opposition to get set. Every time Celtic moved forward, there was a sense of purpose. A couple of early chances followed, and on another night, the lead could have been doubled. One effort in particular forced an outstanding save, the kind of stop that reminds you how fine the margins are at this level. Still, the message was clear. Celtic were not there just to sit in and hope for the best. As the half wore on, Bologna inevitably started to grow into the game. Their midfield began to find pockets of space, and Celtic were forced to do more defending than they would have liked. This is where some of the familiar issues began to creep in, particularly in central areas. Losing the ball cheaply invited pressure, and against a side like this, you are always one mistake away from trouble. There were warning signs, moments where the defensive line had to scramble, blocks had to be made, and challenges had to be timed perfectly. Then came the moment that completely changed the dynamic of the match. A second yellow card, and suddenly Celtic were down to 10 men. There is no real argument about the decision when you look at it in isolation. It was a moment of poor judgment, especially so soon after already being booked. In European football, referees are rarely forgiving, and you cannot give them a decision to make. Going a man down away from home in Italy is just about the hardest task you can set yourself. What followed, though, said a lot about the character of the team. Instead of folding, Celtic somehow found a way to score again. It was chaotic, scrappy, and full of tension, but the ball crossed the line and suddenly it was 2-0. For a brief moment, or a disbelief turned into hope. 2 goals up with 10 men. You knew it was unlikely to last, but it gave Celtic something to protect and something to fight for. The second half was always going to be about survival. Bologna pushed higher and higher, moving the ball wide, firing crosses into the box and testing Celtic's concentration. The pressure felt relentless at times, and when the first Bologna goal arrived, it felt inevitable. The concern then was that the floodgates might open because Celtic have been here before. Too often in Europe, one goal conceded becomes 2 or 3 in quick succession, and the game slips away completely. To their credit, that did not happen. Even when Bologna found their second goal and leveled the match, Celtic did not collapse. There was a calmness to the defending that has been missing for large parts of the season. Bodies were thrown in front of shots, headers were won under pressure, and players emptied whatever energy they had left into keeping Bologna out. It was not pretty, but it was effective, and sometimes that is exactly what you need. Individually, there were performances that deserve real praise. At the back, the centre-halves stood tall, dealing with wave after wave of attacks. Fullbacks tracked runners, midfielders dropped in to help, and even players not known for their defensive work chipped in with vital interventions. This was not about one hero, but about collective effort, about understanding that everyone had a job to do and committing fully to it. By the time the final whistle blew, the reactions on the pitch told the story. This felt like a point earned rather than 2 dropped. In the wider context of the Europa League group, it could turn out to be an extremely valuable result. Celtic remain right on the edge of qualification, knowing that their fate is still in their own hands. Nights like this can change belief, not just in the supporters, but inside the dressing room as well. There are still obvious limitations. The lack of quality in certain areas shows when Celtic get into promising positions, and discipline remains a concern. But what was missing for too long was heart, and that was on full display here. Away from home, under pressure, reduced to 10 men, Celtic found a way to compete. That alone makes this performance stand out, and it sets an interesting tone for what comes next, right? Picking up from where we left off, the second half of this story is all about digging in, showing character, and learning lessons for the run-in. Celtic now know what they are capable of when they stick together, and it is the kind of performance that builds belief in ways stats alone cannot capture. Bologna, as expected, came out after the interval, pressing hard, testing every part of the defence, probing for weaknesses, and trying to unsettle Celtic. Their right winger, in particular, caused problems early, moving with direct pace and sharpness that forced the defenders to react rather than act. But the Celtic backline, led by experienced heads, dealt with the threats better than many might have predicted. Austin Trusty and Liam Scales, the centre-back pairing, were monumental. Time and again, they read the danger, positioned themselves intelligently, and made interventions that, while not always spectacular, were crucial in keeping Celtic in the game. Trusty, in particular, epitomized the spirit of the team. His tackling reading of the game and composure under pressure was central to ensuring that Bologna did not run away with the match. At full time, he and Scales could look back with pride at a performance that showed not just skill, but courage and determination. The fullbacks as well had to cover enormous distances. Kieran Tierney, especially in the latter stages, threw himself into tackles and challenges, showing commitment and leadership. Every time Bologna threatened on the flanks, he was there to cut out crosses or delay attackers, buying precious seconds for the rest of the team to reorganize. It was a display of defensive discipline that few might have expected from a team that had looked vulnerable at times earlier in the season. and it is the kind of performance that can change the tone of a campaign. Up front, Celtic had moments of threat, but the story of the night was never about creating a high volume of chances. The focus was on surviving and making the most of opportunities when they arose. There were moments when the ball almost found the net, and a couple of times the goalkeeper had to produce excellent saves to deny Celtic further advantage. These moments highlighted how thin the margins are in European football and how the difference between victory and a draw can hinge on concentration, timing, and a little bit of luck. One of the positives that cannot be overstated is how well organized the team looked defensively, even when under pressure. Bologna were constantly moving, throwing crosses, and trying to overload areas, but Celtic maintained structure. Even players not naturally defensive, like Annie Engels, contributed crucial headers and blocked attempts, showing that everyone understood the task at hand. This was not a performance reliant on one or two stars. It was a collective effort in every sense, and that is precisely what Martin O'Neill encourages in his teams. Discipline, while still a concern, was somewhat managed after the early setbacks. The sending off was a blow, yes, but the team did not let frustration take over. Composure, even when Bologna scored their second to equalize, was evident. This calmness under pressure is exactly what a team needs if it wants to compete in Europe, and it bodes well for the upcoming games. Players were clearly aware of what was required, and they delivered beyond expectations in terms of effort and application. Looking at the goalkeeping, Schmeichel had moments of brilliance alongside moments of frustration. Conceding the second Bologna goal was unfortunate, and while some will criticize his positioning, he also produced saves that kept Celtic alive at crucial points. In matches like this, goalkeepers are under immense scrutiny, and a single action can define the outcome. Here, he balanced the negatives with positives, and his leadership from the back was integral to organizing the defense, particularly when under sustained pressure. One of the interesting aspects of the match was the way Celtic adapted tactically once down to 10 men. Players shifted into unfamiliar positions at times, midfielders dropped deeper, and there was a noticeable willingness to sacrifice attacking ambition for defensive solidity. Yet even within this structure, Celtic remained threatening when they could counter. The balance between resilience and attacking intent is difficult to achieve, especially in European football, but on this occasion, the team managed it admirably, showing tactical awareness alongside physical commitment. The Europa League context adds another layer to this performance. Celtic are now on 8 points in the group, right on the edge of qualification, and every single result matters. This point, earned in Italy, keeps the dream alive and allows them to approach the next match against Utrecht with the knowledge that victory would secure progression. That clarity of focus can be transformative. Players now know that if they put in the same effort, the result can swing in their favor. Confidence in football is such a fragile thing, and moments like this can act as a catalyst for a team's belief. Off the ball, the team showed remarkable awareness. Defensive blocks, interceptions, and pressing in key moments made it difficult for Bologna to establish a rhythm. This was not about constant intensity alone. It was about smart, intelligent effort. Players picked their moments to press, they closed space effectively, and they limited the dangerous options available to their opponents. That level of collective intelligence is often what separates teams that survive tough away matches from those that capitulate under pressure. Looking forward, there is a sense of optimism that emerges from performances like this. Celtic now know that they can compete under challenging circumstances and that belief is invaluable. The upcoming fixtures, including the game against Hearts, will test whether this performance is a turning point or simply a temporary high. Injuries are still a factor, but the team has shown that with commitment and organization and a bit of magic from leadership on and off the pitch, they can absorb pressure and emerge with results that matter. New additions like Thomas Shavante also offer intrigue. He has limited game time in recent months, but his arrival gives the team fresh options. If he can find his rhythm quickly, he could be an important piece in a squad that now looks more capable of grinding out results when needed. Integrating a new player in a team that has just displayed resilience is easier because the atmosphere is positive and belief has been reinforced by the way the team battled to secure a point in Italy. The final takeaway from this match is that Celtic are learning how to cope with adversity again. The mix of experienced defenders, committed midfielders, and a team willing to give everything on the pitch created the conditions for survival. Bologna were strong opponents, and their moments of quality were not ignored, but Celtic adapted, responded, and ultimately walked away with a point that feels like a small victory in its own right. It may not be glorious, but it is exactly the kind of European away performance that can change perception, mood, and momentum in a squad. Before we proceed, subscribe to our channel and enable notifications to receive all exclusive news about Celtic FC. Don't miss any details about your favorite team. It's extremely important for Celtic FC fans. Whispers are swirling around Glasgow as Celtic appear, poised to make a stunning move in the transfer market, eyeing a sensational addition from Japan. Sources close to the club claim that KEITA KOSUGI, a dynamic fullback who has been turning heads in the J-League, is on the brink of joining the boys. If true, this wouldn't just be a football signing, it could mark a strategic masterstroke for Celtic in Asia. KOSUGI, known for his blistering pace down the flank and uncanny ability to thread defense-splitting passes, has been linked with several European suitors over the past year. Yet it's Celtic who seem to have edged ahead in the race, according to insiders. The Japanese defender's style of play, aggressive in attack, disciplined in defense, fits neatly into the tactical blueprint that Ange Postecoglou has been nurturing since taking the reins at Parkhead. Fans have already begun dreaming of a full-back who can maraud up the wing, whip in dangerous crosses, and still track back with military precision beyond the pitch. The potential signing carries immense commercial implications. Japan represents a lucrative market, and a Celtic KOSUGI connection could see the club's profile soar across Asia, from merchandising to broadcast deals. Celtic's board is understood to be particularly excited about the opportunity to strengthen ties with Japanese sponsors, and insiders hint that talks have progressed swiftly behind closed doors. The boys have long-eyed expanding their brand overseas, and KOSUGI could be the perfect ambassador for that vision. While nothing is officially confirmed, chatter among journalists and club insiders suggests that the negotiations are far from superficial. There's speculation that a multi-year contract could be on the table alongside plans to integrate KOSUGI into Celtic's first-team dynamics almost immediately. Supporters are abuzz on social media, debating how a young Japanese talent might adapt to the physicality of the Scottish Premiership, and imagining how his flair could change Celtic's attacking patterns. It's the sort of rumor that captures the imagination, a player from the Far East arriving in Glasgow, not merely as a footballer, but as a symbol of Celtic's ambition both on and off the park. Whether the deal materializes remains to be seen, but one thing's certain: KEITA KOSUGI's name is now firmly on the lips of the Celtic faithful, and anticipation is building for what could be one of the most intriguing signings in recent memory. Hello, fan. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel, as it means a lot to Celtic FC. Also, share your opinion about the news in the comments below. See you in the next video.